from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up today on Ag Day, markets struggle as China implements tariffs against U.S. ag products. Tariffs add further pressure on a weak farm economy.
We have a cold, if you will, at this point. We are headed for the flu.
How the politics of trade plays in the politics of Iowa. In analysis, farmers are projected to plant 88 million corn acres. Now what?
Ag Day, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Clinton is off the anchor desk for a couple of days. U.S. stocks and several ag companies tumbled Monday after China followed through with its threat to raise import duties on several agricultural products, such as pork and apples. One of the biggest losers was Tyson Foods. Stocks in that pork, poultry, and beef producer was off about 6% much of the day Monday. China raised import duties on $3 billion worth of products of U.S. goods in an escalating dispute with Washington over trade and industrial policy. This move by China was in response to the U.S. tariff hike on steel and aluminum. U.S. pork took the biggest hit with a 25% tariff hike. And overall, global trade with U.S. pork is something Michigan producer Brian McKenzie is watching.
We exported over $15 billion of pork in 2017, which represents 1 out of every 4 pigs has been exported. So if we become involved in a trade war, a lot of our production is at risk.
The U.S. Meat Export Federation responding to the tariffs Monday saying, quote, "We are hopeful that the additional duties can be rescinded quickly so that U.S. pork can again compete on a level playing field with pork from other exporting countries." USMEF says exports have been a key driver of growth in the U.S. pork industry, with nearly 27% of U.S. pork production exported last year. But the Asian nation has not yet responded to President Trump's threatened tariffs over theft of intellectual property. The administration put that price tag at $50 billion. And there are fears that China could hit U.S. soybeans in that possible round of retaliatory tariffs. Ag groups worry tariffs will further weaken the U.S. ag sector.
We have a cold, if you will, at this point. We are headed for the flu if we see some of these trade barriers coming at us and some of these tariffs coming at us, because we have to export. We can't eat anymore here in the United States.
Forecasters say the impact of Monday's move should be limited, but investors worry the global recovery might be set back if other governments respond by raising import barriers. Imposing tariffs on pork is no surprise. It hits right at the heart of President Trump's rural electoral base of Iowa. That state produces the most pork in the country, valued at $6 billion. And every 4 years, Iowa hosts the first presidential caucus. In 2016, then candidate Trump enjoyed supportive crowds from farm country. But with trade issues at stake, can he maintain that backing? Carrie Antelfinger of the Associated Press visits Northwest Iowa to gauge the mood.
Doesn't feel good when they bite you in the back of the ankles.
Jeff Rader makes his living as a hog farmer. He voted for Donald Trump in the last presidential election in hopes of a better future. But the president's proposed Chinese tariffs could affect the price of his hogs.
Well, will be determined on how long it lasts. If it's a temporary up and down, I don't think it'd be a big deal.
Trump's plan to impose tariffs on a range of Chinese goods, including steel and aluminum, is aimed at punishing Beijing for stealing American technology. Tariffs have been a central part of his pledge to get tough on China.
It's going to make us a much stronger, much richer nation.
The Chinese government responded. That sent a chill through places like Sioux County, which ranks first in Iowa in agricultural exports. It's also a county where 80% of voters supported Trump.
Anytime you're losing money, nobody's happy.
But this 42-year-old farmer says he stands to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue needed to finance recent construction. He says it's possible he would abandon Trump if pork's price decline continues and lasts.
China and some of those people are major places we export pork. Well, yeah. If we can't get rid of it, we can't get rid of it in the United States, our market's going to go down.
Other hog farmers like Jeff Rader want to see how the new tax plan affects them.
We're looking forward to more profits this year than last year because of the tax cut, hopefully we don't have to give it all away due to the tariffs.
While GOP congressional leaders have urged Trump to reverse course, not everyone in Sioux County is worried about the fallout from a trade war.
And there'll be some casualties, like any war. You know, it's going to be hurtful. But then we'll work and adjust as best we can.
But farmers in this agricultural epicenter are uneasy being on the front line. Carrie Antelfinger, Associated Press.
What do you think about the U.S. tariffs? Are they a good thing for agriculture? That's the topic of this week's Farm Journal Pulse question. We posted that question last Thursday. So far, we received nearly 1,200 responses. 46% said wait and see to see how the tariff action plays out. 37% said no, it's not a good thing. And 18% said yes. If you would like to take part in this unscientific poll, text the word PULSE to 31313. As the calendar page flips to April, USDA now begins its weekly crop progress report. We'll be watching this data each week until November. Not much to report in this first week. 7% of cotton is in the ground. 11% of Texas cotton is seeded, double the average. 9% of sorghum is now planted, 2 points behind average. USDA is expecting an acreage increase in sorghum this year. And we'll now be getting a weekly checkup on winter wheat, which is struggling. 32% is good to excellent. In Kansas, none of the crop is excellent and only 10% is good. Meanwhile, field work is behind in the western Corn Belt due to snow. Snow falling down in pockets across the United States, especially in some key row crop areas of south central and central Nebraska, even reaching areas of Missouri to Indiana. We visited eastern Nebraska farmers late last week for a planting update. Some farmers in Arlington, Nebraska say they had a nice November and December to get field work done. However, they say the area is very behind with spring field work.
It's been a wetter March and a colder March than what we've had in past years. Usually we get a little bit of a, kind of an Indian spring type feel where we get some 60s and 70s. Haven't had that feel yet this year. So it's kind of got some guys worried that we never got any work done in March like we'd like to do.
Lauritsen says his area lucked out of snow, but lows in the 20s do not make it feel like spring this week. Speaking of spring, the annual I-80 planting tour kicks off tomorrow on AgDay. We'll have a report from western Iowa. There's no shortage of weather news across farm country. Mike Hoffman is here with a look at crop comments. Mike?
Thanks, Betsy. Well, I see you submitted a photo from southeastern South Dakota over the weekend. This picture is of opening day on the Gibbon farm, Easter weekend. Betsy's dad is pitching, her nephew Willie is at the plate, and Betsy is ready for some pop flies in the outfield. And it'll be a while before Daniel Carpenter from Rockingham, Missouri is out in the field. Daniel says his spring field work is placed on hold. It looks like his area received sleet and freezing rain. Now, taking a look at the wind speed forecast, we're going to have a fair amount of it over the next couple of days. Lots in the western plains, over into the central Mississippi Valley, parts of the Great Lakes, and then this afternoon it really gets windy throughout the plain states into the Ohio River Valley, Tennessee River Valley, and that extends farther east tomorrow from the Great Lakes all the way down to South Texas. Fairly windy to start the day, and it gets windier as the day goes on into the eastern Great Lakes and parts of the Rockies. We'll have your forecast coming up. First, here are some hometown temps.
Save time each day and receive the latest market prices directly to your cell phone with market updates. It makes it effortless to stay aware of shifting market prices. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
When we come back, we look at the corn market reaction following the release of the prospective plantings report. From our partners at Farm Journal's Milk, we look at the tough road ahead for dairy producers. And we visit a Midwest drone zone as interest continues to grow in the world of unmanned aerial vehicles.
With a uniquely powerful formulation of proven ingredients, Resicor corn herbicide gives you extraordinary power.
Who wants dessert?
At least when it comes to weeds.
Business, let's get a quick look at Monday's action at the CME in Chicago.
Hogs is the real story of today. They really tumbled. Those Chinese trade wars
are definitely looming, and they're going to affect the pork market, along with the NAFTA talks. That's going to also hurt the hog market. On top of all that, the hog and pig report told us that their expansion of the herd by 3% is really an aggressive number. That's also going to weigh very heavy on prices. And as you see, the chart is just going straight down. But at some point, you know, we're going to get to that bargain basement area where we're going to have some real buyers step in and support that market. But right now, not looking so good. As soon as we calm down a little bit with the China wars, I think that we can get a little bit more of an equilibrium. But today, the market is definitely lower. That's all from the floor at the CME Group. Here in Chicago, I'm Virginia McGathey.
As USDA unveiled its prospective plantings report last week, the agency said it expects U.S. farmers will plant more soybeans than corn this year. That hasn't happened since the early 1980s. Before Clinton set out, he talked with analyst Jim McCormick from Allendale Incorporated about the corn market.
Jim McCormick with Allendale, our guest here at the Agribusiness Desk today. Jim, you know, last Thursday we heard a pretty interesting corn number, especially from the prospective plantings report on what we think is going to be put in the ground. How did that sit with you at 88 million acres?
What it tells me, Clinton, is we've really got an interesting story, a bullish story, I think, could be developing the corn market. 88 million acres. To put in perspective, you drop your trend yield by 3 bushels.
Okay.
Let's say we run like a 173 yield, below last year's crop. 88 million, but that, you increase your demand 150 million roughly, you're still looking at a carryout that's somewhere around 1.3, 1.4.
Wow.
And to put that in perspective, last couple of years, not last year we tapped out the market about 417. The 2 previous years before that, we got up near 450, and we were talking around a 1.5 carryout. So your economics look like if there's any kind of a hiccup, there's a very good potential. You could see this corn push up to 450, I believe.
Yeah, so as we move through this year, what indicators are you watching for to see whether or not this is going to get a little more bullish or a little less?
Well, I think the first indicator is going to be the funds.
Okay.
They lead this market. They really got excited about the corn market relatively the last few weeks. Pushed their position about half of a record limit. They've pulled back a little bit. But I want to see the fund money kind of inject further into this market, show them that they want to buy it. Now, they may be buying it on the food side. They also may be buying on the inflationary side of the equation, because we hear a lot of guys buying commodities because of the overheated stock market, the tight job market. So you got some inflation buying. So the key is to see that investor money come in, because I think that's going to be the big key right now.
What about export sales? What is that telling us right now on the corn market?
Well, right now, this past week's sales dropped off just a hair after the phenomenal run we've had. I think we had 10 weeks of like record sales.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you can't make a record every week, but in general, if the sales stay strong, that should be good. Now, the one little red flag I have on the export sales that you point out is shipments.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is we are selling the living tar out of this corn, but we got to get it shipped out right now. And to ship it out, I think we need to ship out like 22% higher, more per week than we did a year ago. So in essence, it is going to take a big program to get it moved out. We can do it. We have the capacity, but that's going to be the wild card. But demand looks good, and producers ought to be optimistic.
All right, optimism. I like that. All right, thanks, Jim. We'll be back with more AgDay here in just a minute.
To talk to Jim McCormick one-on-one, contact Allendale Incorporated at 815-578-6166 or email Jim at jmccormick@allendale-inc.com. You could win a 2018 John Deere Gator from Valent USA. Visit valentfullyloaded.com to enter. Your vote could help a community organization win $10,000 and send a farmer on a dream sports trip. Vote now and help make dreams come true at powertodomore.com. Sponsored by Resicor Corn Herbicide.
Welcome back to Ag Day with meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, as you said earlier, just looks like a typical snowstorm going through some of the Corn Belt here.
Yeah, is this January or what? No, we've had multiple snowstorms over the last week. This is another April snowstorm moving through the upper Midwest. And farther south into the warmer air, there's actually the potential today for some severe weather, even as far north as Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. So that's something we'll be watching. Showers and thunderstorms down along the front into the central Mississippi Valley, northeast Texas by later today. Snow flying from northern Iowa all the way through northern Michigan and into the northern portions of Maine. Taking a look at the weather map tonight, that storm continues to move east. We end with some snow as far south as northern Indiana, northern Ohio. A lot of that going to be lake effect, nothing real heavy there, but there's going to be several inches in the main band of that snow farther north. Next storm system coming in out west, very slow mover, but it's going to start to move some rain and mountain snows into the northwestern portions of the country by tomorrow, and then you can see another cold front coming southward out of central Canada. This is a cold weather pattern basically for the eastern half of the country for this time of the year, and we've been in it for quite some time. Let's take a look at precipitation estimates. Past 24 hours, you can see some decent amounts in parts of the Ohio River Valley, central Mississippi Valley. Most of it's been light farther north, but that's because it's all snow, and it piles up pretty good. Even when you get a half an inch, that's several inches of snow typically. You can see, though, we're going to have some areas that get those heavier thunderstorms from the southern Great Lakes all the way to northern Louisiana. We'll end up with an inch or more of rain in places. Snowfall's generally been from Wyoming and Montana eastward into Minnesota and Wisconsin. That's pretty much where we're going to add some more over the next 36 hours. It'll go a little farther south into Chicago, northern Indiana, and northern Ohio as well as we head through the next 36 hours. Look at the highs today. What a difference. We're looking at 80s at the Gulf Coast, below 20 by the time you get to the Canadian border. Low temperatures tonight are going to be very cold for this time of the year. Single digits in the far northern plains, still 60s and 70s in the southeast. The warmth continues in Florida, but the cooler air moves southward a little bit farther, as you can see there, and we're looking at 20s and 30s in the northern plains and the Great Lakes. Here's the jet stream, and you can see that trough in the storm system moving east. Then we have multiple pieces of energy rotating around the big storm in eastern Canada, and that's going to keep the cold air coming in the east. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We head to Pueblo, Colorado. First of all, breezy, sunshine and clouds. High temperature of 56 degrees. Iron Mountain, Michigan, snow most of the time. High temperature of 33. New Smyrna Beach, Florida, partly sunny and warm. The high around 82.
While the U.S. is at odds with China over trade, there are parts of the ag sector working to build a better relationship. Details in our dairy report. And win or lose in the big game, Michigan has something else to be proud of. Its brand new drone zone. We'll take a closer look. While trade tensions mount between the U.S. and China, one important sector of U.S. agriculture is trying to build better relations. According to our partners at Farm Journal's Milk, the U.S. Dairy Export Council and China's Junnan University signed a memorandum of understanding to establish the U.S.-China Dairy Innovation Center. The goal of the center is to facilitate research, innovation, and technical services for the dairy and food industries. The groups also hope to strengthen education cooperation between the two countries. Tom Vilsack, who is the current U.S. DEC boss and former Ag Secretary, calls it a game changer. Our partners at Farm Journal Milk also taking a close look at the bottom line for dairy producers. A new milk survey of dairy producers with 500 or more cows shows surviving 2018 could be tough. 3/4 of the producers who responded say their business can survive at the current milk price for 3 years or less, but 37% say they've only got 1 year to turn things around. Farmgate milk prices from those polled range from $12.60 to $18 per hundredweight. The average was $15.66 per hundred. Learn more at milkbusiness.com. When we come back, a new tool for students in Michigan who hope to have a career in the sky.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit KubotaUSA.com today.
The University of Michigan is the latest school to enter the drone zone with its recently dedicated outdoor space for UAVs. Researchers hosted a demo day showing off the 4-story netted complex that's known as M-Air. It cost $800,000 to construct. Other universities have similar confined flying facilities like this. Michigan felt it's a necessary tool to teach students interested in this growing industry. The facility allows the students to come out and fly anything that fits in the net, no matter the weather.
With this facility, we'll be able to test drones whether the sunshine is bright or it's dim and dark at night. We'll be able to test drones in the wind and the rain and the snow and the sleet and the hail and the gloomy night.
Outdoor drone flights on the Ann Arbor campus are required to go through a formal university approval process due to safety concerns about interference with hospital helicopters and other aircraft. But flights inside the M airspace are considered indoors and don't require that level of approval. That's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For Mike and Clinton, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have a great day.